We've all been there. Mhm. Yeah, it's the most competitive freaking marketplace around. Everybody with a mic's trying to do that, you know? Oh, nice.
Can y'all not hear me? I know y'all can. We're getting audio shit figured out. I was gonna do it quicker. Do I need to do a roll call for who's in chat? I don't think I need to do that.
Roll call.
Uh,
President.
Alan's there.
Oh, Alan B.
Good old Alan B. But no, like people have said, hey, like I'm not their primary or the top isn't their primary thing. They're gonna go over to be a better league or fine, fine. How about this? I'll prove it to you that we're back, and then next year we can be your top league again. Not gonna hurt my feelings. I'm about to tell you this. If I'm back, what I did is I came back when I started doing the streaming thing, and I was like, I don't want to be a part of streaming, broadcasting games, and all that shit. I just want to come back and do my thing, play my games or whatever. And then I like hated it just as much as everybody else kind of hated it. It's like, man, there's no content, there's no broadcast streams, there's no engagement. Half the league is not in chat, the other half is only playing their games. Who wants to be a part of that? So
Yeah, that's what always separates the leagues is really content. Anybody can get a group of guys together to play a video game every now and then, you know, but the content's what makes the league last. That gets us through the droughts and bad games and stuff like that.
right, right. NCAA, very unique scenario in that um, a very unique scenario in that we don't need all 32 users to make it an enjoyable experience because in Madden, one team being CPU means that team just gets worse, doesn't get better, and then somebody has to fill that team. Here, if we drop to 30, I'm not gonna lie. Like unless we have a
Here.
wait lister on deck or somebody ready to come, I'm okay with chilling. One conference might have we'll do a little conference realignment, make it cool. I'd rather everybody that's in it stay in it, and we try to go. I want to try to do 10 years this cycle, and in
That's pretty
college football.
realistic if we're
Like
starting early. And the schedule that what's it like six less games, 8 less games
right.
plus, you know, plus it's released a month early. That's very realistic.
And the fact that we get to change teams is gonna make it newer for people, right? It's not like, oh, it's 6 years of the same Madden team you're tired of. No, it's like you know, the rule is gonna be you can change jobs twice in the cycle. And if we go past like 9, 10 years, if like we're rolling, I'll add a third job change. You know, but like for the foreseeable cycle, two feels about right. Three teams over 10 seasons is, pretty solid. You can make
What would
your
happen in real life? Most coaches.
right.
Most coaches are on 3 teams in 10 years.
Right. So yeah, and we're gonna see Bama probably go dominate, and Allen is probably gonna go. Okay, I want to go rebuild a school. We're gonna see Derek probably, maybe a couple good seasons at Syracuse. He's got Kyle McCord. Maybe have a good season, take advantage of that, jump ship to a good team. Um, it's all stuff we're gonna learn. So. You guys saw the conferences, so just reference that because you won't see them on the screen when I show them unless you had the stream pulled up. Um, I wasn't expecting to do this live, so we're not going to necessarily sit tight for any people to pop in. This is all going to be something that's recorded to YouTube and uploaded, so that's not a problem either. Everybody will get to watch it, and I'll drop it as an article just to make sure that anybody that, I don't know, got any deaf people in the league that don't want to listen to all the content so you can read it. I don't know. I'm trying to be handicapped accessible, right? That's why Derek's here. Not that Derek's handicapped, he's just also handicapped accessible. But all right. We got 5-6 people in here. So all right, let's talk it up. So anyways, welcome to one of the first live content pieces of the Top Madden cycle, top NCAA. I can't say Top Madden anymore. Just to be clear, we're still working on the official name. I think me and Danny are really good on Top Football. Like that just be the overarching thing. But I mean, I told Danny, what if we become a 2K league, right? Then we have to change it to Top Sport. I don't know. But the channel's called Top Sports Network because, move TV to, I don't know, NBC, whatever the fuck. But that might change later. But either way, bottom ball. Thanks, Neko. So, but with that is going to come some new faces to the content game. And I wanted to go ahead and before we hop into the conference discussion and reveal of where all the teams are going to be in the alignments and let Hoff try to argue his way into a G5 conference because I know it's coming.
Northern Illinois every week, man. That's all I want to play.
But let's go ahead and introduce some of those new faces. Not everybody could be here, but obviously kind of the tier tree here. Me and Danny are going to be the main CMs for the league across both leagues. We are going to have might have some overlapping members, but some separate CM groups. The 2 CMs officially for NCAA are none other than Coach King of the NC State Wolfpack.
Yes, sir.
And Harp Daddy. Y'all remember Harp was a part of the league for about 2-3 years, starting around the COVID-ish time frame. He took a step away to do some other stuff, but he's coming back and he has a vested interest in seeing the league great again. So we invited him to the group. He's going to work. Those two are going to work with me and Danny. TBD on if we feel like we're going to need any more. Obviously, one of us is coaching a football team this year. That'd be Coach King. And they're not in the game, and we told him we're not going to be able to team builder his team into the game. Maybe next cycle, when everybody can start with 2 stars and build up, I will let you team builder your team in. That would actually be kind of cool, though, wouldn't it? We'll do that next cycle. How about that?
Yeah.
Well, they're gonna remove team builder and bring it back in 4 years, but that's the EA way. But that's how we're gonna start. Obviously, no trades, no waiver wire to worry about. No free agency to worry about from a CM perspective. So a little hesitant, but if you have an interest in helping us out with keeping the cycle going, being engaged in content, things like that, we'd love to have you in. So just let me know via the DM. So King, welcome to the CM team. Do you have anything to say? We're going to talk a little bit about your content piece in a bit, but I want to open the floor real quick for you to address anybody.
No, man, I'm just excited to help Top get back to where it was when I first joined. I think that's what makes, Top special. Some of the content pieces stuff that we were doing and just the camaraderie in the chat and everything else. So I'm excited to help, get that luster back to what it once was and make sure everybody has an enjoyable experience and then see the NC State Wolfpack on top. That's how we do it.
Right. I mean, we'll see about that. He's in the ACC, so and he ain't winning that if me and Pest have anything to say about it. So, all right, well, we'll get back to King in a bit because he is going to be also doing some content for us. But I want to start with what I think is the most important part of a good, successful league, and that is capturing every story that every person is having, right? We're going to have 32 unique universities here that are going to go through their own path, right? You're going to have the big dogs that are going to be fighting it out for the title. So there's that. Then we're going to have guys that are pushing to get their one player to a Heisman for that max upgrade or just for the sheer achievement of winning the Heisman. And then guys that are going to be working their way up, either trying to build a smaller school into a contender or are willing to push themselves and see, okay, let me start down at the ladder, work my way up, and maybe by the end of the cycle be coaching a big team. So there's a ton of different paths that Madden doesn't offer, and the guys are going to help us capture that from a gameplay perspective, as kind of seeing how everybody's things develops, commentating, broadcasting those games. Is going to be our primary broadcast team. That's Hoffenator, who was the Liberty Flamers this year. Sorry, Flames. That's the joke we got at Liberty. And then Syracuse user Derek. So I will start with you, Hoff. Welcome to the content team. I appreciate you stepping up. Is there anything you would like to say to the league?
Yeah, just excited to be back. You know, I was new here last year, and I heard about Top in its heyday, all the awesome content that you guys put out, and I've heard that you were a big part of that, man. So I'm glad to see you back at the top, helping lead the charge. And I'm looking forward to it. I've always wanted to do broadcast stuff. I've just never been in a league that's had the wherewithal to pull it off. So I'm excited.
Sick. Yeah, and that's what we're looking for, right? I mean, obviously I was a part of that content, but there were guys that used to do power rankings weekly and top 5 plays, and all of that stuff is just what kind of got us our reputation as we worked our way up. And then obviously having members that aren't, not a lot of member turnover, but guys that stick around. And you know what, because of that turnover though, we've been able to meet a lot of people like yourself and King over the years, whereas me and Derek have been playing Madden League since NCAA's last game. So like, it is, it's part of the process, and it's a part of making a good league. So we're excited, happy to have you on. Derek, you've been here forever. I know you've dabbled in content here and there, but this is your first time on like a mic commentating games. I think you might have stepped in and done a broadcast booth with me here and there. But you're going to be kind of the driving the ship for your broadcast team. What are your thoughts on that? What are you excited the most to kind of show to the league?
Yeah, I mean, so one of the most fun things that I've done for the Madden League, it was streaming Super Bowls with you, broadcasting a Super Bowl with you. Just a tremendous amount of fun. Just I feel like that's kind of the biggest thing to make a league successful, is really just making sure we have everyone invested in what's going on. And I think that's a huge way for everybody to be invested, to care about what's happening in the league. For a player to have a great season with their running back and have someone like me or Hoff, really focus in, have a story with them, have them as a player to watch on their game of the week, and really build these stories. Because when we have storylines about each team, people just end up caring more. Even if it's looking at your opponent's roster a little bit, seeing how good your running back's doing, how good the defense is, just having that extra level of care in the league is going to help us go even longer and make the content that we have for the league even better as well.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I'm making sure that my all the audio here is being. I guess in theory I should have done that a little bit earlier. Audio input capture across all the tracks. Cool. I was like, man, I don't know if y'all remember, I did the town hall and then didn't record any of the audio. It's live here now, so it should be fine. But we're set and good to go. So Derek, again, yeah, those Super Bowls were hype. Everybody kind of remembers those moments the most. A couple big ones. Me running a fucking reverse on like third down instead of passing and then taking a field goal against Khalil, and I had an opportunity to beat to stop his three-peat. Didn't happen because I went for the field goal, so I get roasted for that. We've had Pest and Alan B commentated my only Super Bowl win. I've been playing in Top Madden since 2015. One Super Bowl win, 4 Super Bowl losses, and they were able to commentate that. So that's very, always good to go watch. Everybody here remembers Donnie celebrating on his when he took down the mighty Warren in the Super Bowl, only for Warren to come back and win like 3 Super Bowls and beat the shit out of Donnie like the next year. Like those moments matter, right? And I'm excited. You guys are good personalities. I feel like as you guys kind of learn how people's games are and the personalities, I think it'll be really good, and it allow those stories to be engaging. So oh yeah, Alan talked about the CPU playoff game. I don't know if you guys remember that, but Khalil was playing against Dan, and there was a bunch of like Dan was up a bunch, and then they had to replay the last part of the game because it desynced, and then Khalil had a crazy comeback and he was winning, and then it desynced, so they ran it back the last 3 minutes, and then Dan came back and won, and then it desynced a third time, so they said, fuck this, we're not playing, and they had their CPUs play against each other on stream for a chance to go to the NFC Championship game. Like, one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen in Madden League. But that's what we want to capture. And just so everybody knows, part of that is when those games get played, not only are we going to be live streamed, but we're going to go ahead and auto load those up to YouTube. That's a feature now within Twitch. So they'll be there forever. So if you ever want to go back and watch an old game, stuff like that, perfect.
And I can go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say, and I could go ahead and and just add to the memories. I don't even remember the Super Bowl game, who won or what the broadcast was all about, but I remember name a book, name 5 books. Like, memories are made on these broadcasts. I'm gonna make sure if I'm on a broadcast with you at any given time, I'm having a list of at least 10 books handy.
Name 5 books. That was volley. I was just ripping into. That's the Oklahoma State user, and he's name 5 books. That's just. I was on the spot for what it's worth. I've never had that one. So I don't even remember. I know it's from another person saying something similar, and I just recalled it and just replaced what they said with books. But yeah.
And he totally froze and couldn't name 1 book, let alone 5.
It's like it's like a joke. You name 5 cereals right now, and you're just like, oh, Lucky Cheerios. Like, what the fuck? But oh, it's the thing where the guy goes around and he says, name a woman, and he holds a mic up to people, and they're just like, it's like, did you just forget every woman that exists? It was like, every woman would,
50% of the planet.
Right, every person would be like, Hillary Clinton. Like, Hillary Clinton's the only woman? Like, it was ridiculous. So, well, that is the broadcast team. Again, if you would like to join the broadcast, be a part of that, whether that be in a more permanent role or a temporary role, you don't have to make that commitment now, but just reach out. There's going to be plenty of scenarios. I'm going to be filling in and doing some broadcast every off week or every other week type deal to give these guys a break, because there's one thing, all 3 of you hopping on content, I appreciate it. The biggest thing is pace yourselves. Pace yourselves. The beginning of the cycle, it's super hype. You feel like you got to do a bunch. That's why we're all here rotating, because it's like, I promise you, by season 2, you're like, I'm fucking done with all this stuff. Broadcasting's easy. Load the Twitch game, hit start, and go. I'm down, Josh. Hop in. We'll get a little guests from other leagues. I'm always down like that. We've had some crossover leagues and some crossover people come broadcast. It's always fun to have somebody in that, like, doesn't know what's going on, like knows how to broadcast sports, but also doesn't know all the leagues. You get like fresh ideas and takes on what could happen. So I'm always down. So the next bit of recorded content that's going to occur is going to be the plays of the week videos are coming back. That's something that's going to be in real life weekly, not like in-game weekly. And pretty much what that's going to look like is we're going to make a play of the week submission channel in Discord. It's already there under the I think it's under the news hub, under the league content tab. And all I want you to do is, if you see a big play in your game or a game you're watching, even better if it's on a broadcasted stream, clip it, throw it in there. I don't need you to edit the time down. Just clip the last 30 seconds or last minute if it is a longer clip, and send that into the play submission, and then forget about it. That is all I'm asking from the league. I will handle the rest. I will clip it down. I will do everything. Just clip, drop the link in there, laugh at it, and then you'll see it later whenever those plays show up in the plays of the week video. That's just another way to kind of highlight, not every, obviously the big games are the big matchups, especially as we get closer to playoffs. Those are going to be really key games, and that let's be real, that tends to be the Dannies and the Warrens of the world. Sometimes the King if he has a quarterback with 100 abilities. But we want to capture everybody's big plays, so you don't have to have you don't have to win a game to have a big play, right? So have a big play, clip it, and you kind of have your stuff being broadcast. And if you're down 40, hell, if you're down 40, start hurdling every play. You might get fucked up on the wear and tear, but also you might be on the plays of the week. So there's going to be that. And then also replaying of games. So throughout the day, say you play a game at 8 in the morning because you're a sicko, or 2 in the morning because you're even crazier, and it didn't get seen by the league, but you had a good battle, or it was a key conference game or something like that, or just general, it just didn't get seen that much and you felt like you had a good game. Hit me up. We will rebroadcast that stream up to the Top Sports Network Twitch. It might not have commentary over it. It depends on what I've got to do college class that day. But at a minimum, it gets broadcasted up and then auto uploaded to YouTube. So that game can be, say it so, maybe you have a buddy in another league. Oh, I had a crazy game. Here, watch it. It's a lot easier with a YouTube link than a Twitch VOD, right? Especially if that Twitch VOD went away after 10 days or whatever the limit is for non-affiliate Twitch accounts. So that's a way that we can kind of track that information, get it done. So And then the last piece of content we will talk about before we hop into conference reveal, as a couple more people have showed up. King's Court. This is probably one of my favorite. It's going to be a little bit more separated, obviously, because King's a traveling, hardworking man. When you're going to be recruiting in the game, this dude is literally going to be in some kids' DMs saying, get 15 more pounds and I have a scholarship for you. I mean, he's obviously going to be a busy man during the fall, but it doesn't mean he can't contribute and with the content piece. So King's Court is the content piece. I'm going to let King talk about what your vision is for that.
Yeah, man. So, first of all, welcome to the King's Court. If you ever get the opportunity to sit down on the throne, I hope that you enjoy your experience when you get to step into, that arena. But man, King's Court is just going to highlight a bunch of different things, man. I didn't really want to, put it in the light of it just being one thing. We have some team previews coming out, and then being able to break down some of you all's gameplay. Watch you guys. I love watching games on stream when I'm not breaking down our own. It's kind of people ask me, well, how do you, a college football coach, a head football coach, and you're, so actively involved in video games? It's my getaway. Life is stressful enough. Being out here, like right now, I'm literally watching 4 of our quarterbacks throw on the field with a bunch of our wide receivers. And so it's just one of those deals to where this right here is my being able to get away from the reality of what I do every day by still doing what I do every day. So when you get into the King's Court, man, you're going to have a bunch of different articles about, different variations of teams, play styles, some of the things that I've been seeing, watching guys play on live, on Twitch, and then watching their games and their streams. And just being able to see, different factors that played a role in certain games and turning points of games, and where that game got away from somebody, or I might dibble and dabble in the top offenses and defenses that I've seen on stream, and be able to just talk and highlight various guys throughout the league, because I know how it feels to, be in top and try to earn your way through, and, be noticed a little bit. There's nothing like being able to have some recognition in that regard. So just kind of trying to make sure, all the way down from Liberty up to Alabama and down to Air Force, trying to make sure that everybody, has their piece of the pie, and that they are being noticed, and that they can fall in love and stay in love with the league and some of the content that we're being pushed out. And, King's Court was just something that I knew that I wanted to do. And like he talked about a few minutes ago, Finn, it was one of those deals to where I'm actually glad that you're back to doing what you do and finding your love for what you do, because it was kind of tragic. I ain't gonna lie to you, man. And from meeting you in Indianapolis, kind of tragic to see that little roller coaster that you went on, with how bad and mad it was and how much it affected you and what you love to do. Because I think that's what makes Top special is, you give credit to a lot of people, but when you're on your shit, Top really rolls. So I'm excited. I'm excited to join you in that aspect. I'm excited to, push Top, back to the top. But King's Court is going to be fun, man. Got some stuff already pumped up and loaded and ready to go. Appreciate, the guys who've, got it off to a bang up. And one thing too, it's not always going to be articles. Sometimes we're going to be able to live stream and get some video replay of what you guys are doing on stream, so you guys can see what I'm talking about, and just give you a college football coach's perspective on, how it try to stop you, or, what you're doing and why it's so unstoppable. So I'm excited, man. I can't even tell you. I'm really geeked up, especially after watching the gameplay video today. Oh my goodness,
Dude, something special. It was hands down. I don't know. I don't have a game that I want to play. I've downloaded 4 games on my Xbox. I haven't touched a single one. I'm like, dude, I don't want to play this game, bro. I've spent more time with my family this week because I'm just like, I can't game until that game drops. Like,
man,
I'm the same way. I was on Game Pass. I downloaded 5 games. I was Googling on Reddit and all this stuff, what games to download. And everyone I downloaded, I'm like, I just want to play football.
I just want to play football, man. I even downloaded College Football Revamped and still was like, it's not the same. Like,
we were in the staff meeting room today, and I gave, like, next week, of course, is the drop. I gave my staff off on Tuesday, Wednesday, and we're talking about Thursday.
That's crazy.
Oh,
That's
man.
crazy.
Hey, we're in there geeked up. Like, we were having our staff meeting right after lunch. We watched that 20-minute video on YouTube, and we're all sitting there getting geeked about it.
Hey, how much pull do you think you could have if you were to upload your playbook, like send your playbook to EA, get that inserted into the game, and then use that against us? That would be gnarly.
Man, listen.
You should consider Give him a call.
That'd be amazing, man. You get a lot of duo. You get a lot of RPOs based off of that power running scheme. You know how I play, fan. That's
Hey,
how I call
yeah.
real life.
Hey, it is what it is. No, I'm particularly excited about that content. It was my favorite to make. If you guys remember the Coach's Corner and even the old detail videos. Now, those were like an hour, 20-minute video of me like breaking down the game and literally drawing lines on the screen. Probably not going to be the way that it goes here with King. Not that that content's not going to exist, but I think that that kind of stuff will be reserved for maybe some more specific games. But what I talked about with King, what I think would be a great idea is like, hey, instead of trying to do the whole game, maybe somebody had a pitch as good as it gets 2-minute drive or 4-minute offense, right? Did exactly what he needed to do, killed clock, called the right plays, key third downs, and or maybe they didn't do that, right? That's something that you can go in, you can record, and kind of we'll sit down and do the lines and draw it all out and say, hey, this is what this person did great. And then there could be some learning examples of like, hey, you were 3 plays off of success here. This is what you could have done, this, that, and the third. It doesn't always have to be negative, but just highlighting, man, that was crazy, or a crazy comeback, or just, even if it's a great call. And then you mentioned already highlighting unique offenses, right? With our rules scaling back a bit and college being so unique, we already know that some guys are going to be super run heavy. We know Ricky has always had unique offenses when he was in Buffalo for the Bills. I remember the Taysom Hill years and the pistol stuff. If you thought that was unique, Ricky's about to have a blast at Boise State. Some guys are going to be extremely pass heavy. If you have a unique offense, and it doesn't mean to be right now, but throughout the year, say you develop it and you're like, man, kind of wish more people were watching this unique thing I got going on down here, right? Maybe you run a really weird defense, right? I've been looking at like 3-3-5. Remember, what was it, TCU? That was like exclusively a 3-3-5 defense a couple years back. It was like
one for a while too.
Yeah, like maybe you run something weird like that and you find success doing that. Like, why does 3-3-5 is good against the run? What are you giving up? And those can be highlighted in a video. Those can be highlighted in an article where we embed the Twitch clips where you show. And again, I would always tell people, you have to expose a little bit of what you do. I used to do those videos and I would tell people all of these things and then I would play them and I realized that I was kind of giving them the keys to how to stop me because I was telling them every week in an hour and a half long video that I run out routes or here, post here, whatever. I understand that it's tough to give up your secrets a little bit. You don't have to give up everything, but please collaborate with King if you think you've got something going or you want to be highlighted. And again, we already have 2 users that it's a quick questionnaire. Just kind of reach out, see what you're about, why you chose the team you chose. Do you have any early thoughts or guys that you're going to focus in on? Some people, some of the guys that I've answered have given some really good questions, and you'll see those articles come out later this week. That's King's Court, though. I'm super excited. Oh yeah, Alan mentioned the coverage shells. All right, like we're gonna see some guys. Like I tell you, it's 3rd down against Georgia Tech. It's gonna coverage shell will be cover 0. It's up to you to figure out how many I'm bringing. Like, good
That's
luck.
the first down.
You said what's up?
First down for NC State.
Oh yeah, okay. What's their little? They probably do some like. I just want you to know the guy on your icon looks like a furry, and that was for a reason. So, that's you. So, all right. So, enough with the content talk. And again, I know everybody's on schedules. I try to keep it paced well here. We're at 7:30. Feel free to dip if you guys have to as we get going. Let me talk a little bit about what our goal is. So, as we're about to hop into the conferences, okay. I want you to know you're going to see some CPU teams. That is by design, right? And also keep in mind that nothing is final here. And when I mean by nothing is final, there's a couple things that are contingent. First off, when the game comes out, I've talked to a lot of guys that have played the game from my high-level Twitch connects. I'm going to name drop. No, but I've learned a little bit of information about bowl eligibility, first-round bye in the conference playoffs eligibility, things like that. So we think we've got a good plan. We understand that CPU teams are going to be a part of the cycle, and I've accepted that. I feel like we have a good plan that allows for some people, if you want to play more CPU games, you can do that. If you want to play more user games or all user games, you can also do that, schedule pending, right? So I'll outline what the rules are around schedule, but that's the point. Is you're going to see in some conferences there's 4 CPU teams, in some there's 3. I think in one of them there might only be 2. Try to balance it out best we can from skill level to user level to team level. As many big dogs in their conferences, but also for season 1, I try to get everybody into the normal conference we see that team. There's been a couple having to move people around, and we will adjust that as we go from season to season, right? If one guy's kicking everybody in his conference's ass by a country mile, and it's not even competitive, okay, off to the SEC or the ACC you go, right? If you're in the ACC, SEC, and you're just not that good of a user, and it is what it is, and you're getting curb stomped every week, okay, we'll probably see you. Will we see, I was going to say Ole Miss, but we know Warren's not going to suck. But yeah, like if Warren were to lose 80% of his vision and then not be good anymore, I'm not going to keep him in the SEC. We'll move him over, right? So we'll make those things work. So before Hoff gets too mad at me about being where he is with Liberty, let it be known that you have a quarterback that can dominate. So maybe you get 1 year and then you don't have to worry about it. But let's go ahead and start with that conference. We're bringing the strength of the Big 12 back, okay? Texas, you don't belong in the SEC. You're going to go back to the Big 12 immediately. First of all, I just feel like as a man from the South, and I don't know if you agree with me here, King, Texas Longhorns don't belong in the SEC in any capacity. And guys, feel free to be unmuted and chat. And yeah, exactly. What are we talking about here, right?
What are we even talking about?
So the Big 12 is going to consist of these user teams: the Texas Longhorns, the Oklahoma State Cowboys, the Cincinnati Bearcats, the Liberty Flames, Notre Dame, and Air Force. I think it's a very unique group. Obviously, the top rosters there are kind of Notre Dame, Oklahoma, and Texas. I think Liberty and Cincinnati is a couple of solid users that have some. I think Cincinnati's probably worse off. But Liberty's got some good offensive pieces. And then Air Force.
The best quarterback in the Big 12.
You've got the best quarterback in the Big 12. And then Air Force, Hanzo is an experienced user. He's a playoff user in most leagues that he's in. But they were a top 6 defense last year. I know a lot of people don't watch Air Force, but they were one of the best run defenses in football last year. And I don't know how that's going to reflect on the stat page, right? But they're not chumps on defense. Offense, good luck. We'll see, right? The computer teams are Oklahoma. I feel like if you're gonna have Texas in the Big 12, Oklahoma's got to be in the Big 12.
Absolutely.
TCU, that's a mainstay. Texas Tech, we got to keep that air raid offense in there. And then Kansas, right? I want to make sure. And what's up?
Rock Chalk Jayhawk.
Right. Now, when it comes to CPU teams, we will balance and I will move. So the CPU teams are TBD. I felt like this is a good one, but once we see rosters, what we don't want to do is we don't want to have a scenario where like all 4 of those CPU teams are ranked, right? I feel like 1, 2 max, but 1 being ranked and kind of a harder team to deal with, and then the other 3 can kind of be wedged in between the normal strength. So don't if we come out in TCU and Kansas, they're high overall teams. I got a lisp there for a second, forgive me. Then we'll make that adjustment and make sure that some different Big 12 teams are in there. So don't panic on that front. And we will talk about how the CPU teams play a role in a bit. Any immediate thoughts from the Big 12?
I think the Big 12 is wide open.
Yeah.
Honestly. I think, at the end of the day, some rosters might be better. But at the same time, if you don't necessarily know how to play with said roster, it will get interesting real fast. And then if you don't know how to, manage your defenses versus that Air Force offense, they could run for 200 plus yards a game and keep your offense off the field. And then next thing you know, Air Force is the Big 12 champs. So I think it's going to be open. It's going to be an open discussion all year long.
Right. I think. Yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I like the division. It's brought back the true Big 12 and keeping those Texas Tech, TCU, Oklahoma. I like that all together. My first thought is, after seeing that gameplay video, is Gordon for Volher going to run for about 4,000 yards this year? That's my first thought in this division.
Yeah, if you watched any of that stuff today, We're gonna have to figure something out. And again, the goal is not to be CMs that are immediately like we're upping run sliders and like it is what it is. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna learn as we go, right? But I promise, what we're not gonna do is hop out and try to like cookie cut everything day one. We're gonna do a lot of testing. We're gonna be like one of the things that we're stoked on testing is like we're gonna take like a team like Liberty. We'll probably take a team that's got 1 or 2 star players, but for the most part, an average to a below average roster, right? And then say, okay, me and Danny are both going to go play a top 5 team. We're going to go both play Alabama and see, like, realistically on Heisman, how hard is that, right? Then we're going to play a team that's kind of ranked more 25th, right? Maybe like the Iowas of the world or the, whatever. And then we'll go play an unranked team and see. We're going to try to get a feel, right? So I just want to say, like, this is the initial plan. I am not afraid to pivot if we learn a shit ton while we test. So don't be scared as we go. Another thing we had to consider with these smallly was what we know about user skill, right? I know we all fear that idea of like, even if you suck, you still have Texas. Not to say anything about Punch, he's a newer user to the league, but like if he's a bad user with a good team, yes, he will still be able to compete. But like I think from what I know of the users in here, no offense to you, Hoff, I think the best user in here is the Cincinnati Bearcats user because he plays a ton of Madden. He labs a ton of stuff. He kind of plays a lot of MUT, but he has a great feel for the way the game plays. And I've seen him improve. He went from a guy I could beat regularly to a guy who's probably beating me more times than I'm beating him in recent Maddens. With that, and then Hoff can play, and then there's Juice, who is kind of a 7, 8, 9 win user in top with a good Notre Dame team. It'll be interesting to see how that feels. But again, balance will be important. So, cool. That's the Big 12. No, any remaining thoughts on that? Cool. All right, let's hop over to the Big 10. So leading off the Big 10 is going to be the Michigan State Spartans. That's Danny. Ohio State Buckeyes. Grid. Penn State Nittany Lions. That's Corey, a new user coming in. The Nebraska Cornhuskers return to the Big 10. I know that they've kind of been Big 12 and all over the place, but me growing up, Nebraska was a Big 10 team. The Pitt Panthers, I know that's an ACC team, and the Syracuse Orange, another ACC team. There's like 11 ACC teams that got picked, so we had to move somebody. Those are the guys that I felt like were good moves over teams that maybe we don't normally associate with ACC play, maybe growing up throughout the years. But they take the first dive. Maryland is normally an ACC team, but they're an actual Big 10 team now, so they stay there, and that is the user teams for that. And then the CPU teams we're keeping in the Big 10 for now are the Michigan Wolverines, the Iowa Hawkeyes, and the Indiana Hoosiers. Obviously, the Illinois, Fighting Illini might have a case to be in there. We'll see, right? Again, the goal is to have one ranked. I know Iowa's ranked, and so is Michigan, so maybe the Hawkeyes step out and we throw in a team like Illinois. But that's the 10 we put there. Looking at this, obviously the Buckeyes are the dominant roster, and Grid is a kind of a mixed bag, right? We've seen Grid as the Chiefs make the playoffs in top, but we've also seen Grid be a 3 to 4 win user in top. I think he's got some skill. He plays Madden pretty regularly, so he's been improving a lot. But I think just roster alone, that's an easy favorite. Derek, you've always been that 11 win. Derek's reputation is an 11 win user who can't make the playoffs because he's always in like the hardest division in the league. So he's coming over with Syracuse, who has a good quarterback and a couple good transfer wide receivers, and then of course the guy that I think everybody knows the best true user in this division. That's Danny, but he's got some work to do in Michigan State. So any thoughts, fellas, on this one out the gate?
I'm curious to see how they do the pipelines, because I don't think it'll take Danny long at all to get Michigan State back into prominence. With just how good of a user he is, and then depending on what their selling points up there in East Lansing are. I mean, playing in that conference, winning that conference could be them on top really quick. in that regard. And then what you said about grit as well, man, it's like, I play with grit in better league, and I'm like, hold on, me and Grit used to have battles, and now he can't win a game with the Dolphins, and I'm like, what is going on? So it's like, at the end of the day, you never know, necessarily what's going to happen. But I am very interested in seeing that Michigan State team.
I mean, yeah, they've got a young quarterback, a dual threat quarterback. If they give that boy 90 speed, y'all better watch out for Danny. Because Danny,
Yeah,
what's up?
I was gonna say, yeah. Sorry, I didn't know you were
No,
done, but
you're good.
I was gonna say, yeah. I think the Big 12 is kind of open. I think the Big 10. I think everybody's playing for second behind Danny and Michigan State.
It's
It'll
tough
be
though.
interesting to see how quickly.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see how quickly Derek can get Syracuse up, though. Like he's like me. He's got like that player or two that can get him through season one. But what do we got in the pipeline after that?
I mean, if I had to put money on it, I would put this is a CPU one division. I mean, if we make if it's as hard as they say it is to beat a ranked team, you're gonna have to deal with a very tough Wolverines roster. And if Danny isn't, if Danny goes through some growing pain losses early, it might be too much before the team's ready to play a little bit of catch up. A lot of newer users. Bogey's coming back. I know a lot of you guys don't know Bogey if you're newer, but Bogey's always been a pretty fun user. He's got a really, really fun freshman quarterback, like true freshman that's starting, dual thread guy. So, again, in terms of roster talent, this one's a little top heavy with Michigan and Ohio State, and even the Hawkeyes a little bit if they do end up staying. But, there's tons of guys. I mean, let's not forget Necco in Maryland, right? Like, Necco is a guy who has put together playoff seasons with the Giants, no less, in top. So he might be, I don't know how good that Maryland roster is, but he might be a sneak for their Pitt. Again, that's going to be a growing pains project. And shout out to Pitt Jazz for taking his favorite team because, in fact, there's only a handful of teams that had multiple people wanting it. And the fact that multiple people wanted Pitt is astounding to me. So good luck with that, fellas. Is it Nico or Necco? Nico.
Yeah, I think Necco. I didn't realize he was on Maryland. It'll be interesting. He had Saquon last year with the Giants, but he did more with less with Danny Dimes and the rest of that roster. It's going to be really interesting. It's like a division with a bunch of mid teams with decent users. Like Michigan State, Syracuse, Maryland, and then like you said, and then you've got the top heavy talent of Ohio State and Iowa and all that. It'll be interesting to see, man. But if Michigan really takes that division as a CPU, I don't care if it's a brand new game. That just can't happen. You lose all sorts of football credibility if you let a CPU take your division.
Hey, that's going to be the fun of it. Derek, what are your thoughts, man? This is your division now. I apologize for taking Syracuse out, but is Syracuse technically on the Atlantic coast of New York? No, it's not. So
No, they're not. I don't know, man. I like you were saying, this is a team, a conference that's full of not only CPU talent. Michigan is just going to be a crazy roster. Like, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. It's going to be a terrible place to play if you're the away team there. If it's as hard, like you said, as hard as they say to beat a ranked team, teams like me, teams like Pitt Jazz, we're gonna have issues going into Michigan and coming out with a win. If running is as good as we saw today, then Pitt Jazz is going to be a problem.
Oh yeah,
a man whose game plan is to just pound the ball down your throat every snap. You can't stop him no matter how hard you try. But he did have Derrick Henry. Maybe that's why I couldn't stop him.
It's probably why. I don't think he's going to be rocking Derrick Henry. But if we learned anything from that gameplay today, the Wolverines running back is a problem.
And if you touch him, he just breaks the tackle anyway.
Yeah, and what's interesting? If you saw the screenshots today, all of his abilities, if the screenshots were accurate, are silver.
Yes.
Unless that was platinum. I think they were silver.
Some of them were
I heard them mention it was a platinum ability. I heard them mention that accelerate, that takeoff ability was platinum. I thought.
Okay, maybe they were all platinum.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if that was platinum, all of them are platinum for him, which makes sense. Cover athlete. The running back for the Buckeyes, all of his are gold. So good luck. That's going to be two tough running backs. The Nittany Lions have a good running back. That
was another thing I saw was their stadium, Penn State's that is, was I think like the 6th ranked hardest stadium to play in.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're the away team going into, to Beaver Stadium,
Right.
it's going to be another problem for you too. And
It's exciting.
Danny's one of the most fun players you can play in top history. He's just a guy who, no matter what team he has, is always going to be a competitive game. Whether he's running Marcus Mariota
Or Johnny Manziel.
or whatever quarterback you have, or Johnny Manziel,
Yep.
you're just going to have a good time.
Yep. Danny
So
went undefeated. I think he had 2 losses an entire Madden cycle with Johnny Manziel as his quarterback. So, and this wasn't like a superstar Johnny. This was like no abilities Johnny Manziel, 6 plucked off the free agency. So,
yeah, I'm really excited for this conference. It's going to be a lot of fun, and really, some people say Danny's the pull away. I think we really have to see how much just a solid team like Ohio State or Penn State, how much that just start off helps people. Having players that are high 80s, low 90s compared to someone like me or Danny who were low 70s for some of these positions. It's going to be a huge quality difference.
And we're not starting it this year because we don't want to beat up on each other, but starting season 2, me and Danny will be scheduling a non-conference game in our annual CM Bowl. So that's going to be a thing as well. So we've decided to have that. All right, so that's the Big 10. Let's hop over to me and King's division, the ACC. Let's take a look at these teams. We've got the Florida State Seminoles, the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, the UNC Tar Heels, the NC State Wolfpack, the Virginia Tech Hokies, the Clemson Tigers, the Miami Hurricanes, and then their 3 CPU teams will be Duke, Louisville, and Boston College. I've been told that that's the correct way to pronounce Louisville, right?
Louisville, baby. You said it right.
Yes, sir. Hey, I got family down there in Kentucky. But all right. So this is what we consider the ACC and the SEC to be the powerhouse conferences, right? That's where we are not concerned about somebody dominating it. We'll move you out if you're really, really bad, per se. But like, there will not be a scenario where you're so good you're leaving the ACC. Right. Obviously, that could change, right? Maybe the better users are the Big 12 or the Big... I don't know. But from the CM perspective out the gate, I mean, we've got Pest, multiple-time top Madden Super Bowl champion. Myself, 1-time top Madden Super Bowl champion. We got you, King.
1-time top champion. You know what I'm saying?
Have you won? You got your ring?
I got mine with the Packers.
Okay. King, Super Bowl champion. Khalil comes back 3 times, 3-peated.
What a conference.
Mickey Mouse.
If you have 3 straight Mickey Mouse seasons, that means you a dog. But, Khalil returns. He's going to take the Hokies. That in itself is tough. We have a couple question marks, right? The Tar Heels is Gruff. He's coming back. He was a Madden user way back in the day for top. He's come back in recent years, and he's going to take over the Tar Heels, a good roster. I can't say I've played him recently, so I don't know. We've got new blood in top with he goes by Eric or Ezilla. Hoff, I guess you could speak to him. He's taken over the Hurricanes, his favorite team. Is he something to fear, or what's the deal with him?
If there's anything you know about how I'm trying to schedule my opponent's season 1, he's the only user I'm probably trying to play season 1, so that can kind of read between the lines. He's a good dude. He's seen his better years before. He's seen his better years. We'll see if football.
Is she cute? Is she cute? She's nice.
Shots across the bow.
Is she cute? Well, she's kind. She got a big heart, brother. God damn. Don't do it. All right, Miami might be in the Big 10 next season. We'll find out. Derek, don't get comfortable. We might be. No, I'm kidding. You
guys moved me out because you were scared of me. It's okay.
It's okay. Oh yeah, that's what it was. My biggest question mark that can tip the scales even more, right, is I think looking at these, the 2 best rosters on paper are going to be Florida State and Virginia Tech. But Clemson has got, I believe, like a 90 overall team. And Allen's brother is Chris is the Clemson Tigers, and he has kind of been underneath the laying low the last couple seasons. He's real quiet, doesn't talk much in chat, very active in DMs. He's gotten a lot better. He was the Saints last year. He's the one that drafted that 6'9" wide receiver. And Allen has spent a lot of time with his brother teaching, match defenses and teaching him, good reads, good plays. And by the time that I was, because when did I come back? That was the Falcons. That's what it was. Yeah, my thing. So, um, there were some really tough games. And there was actually one game that I shouldn't have won. He just made a crucial mistake late. So I'm going to put on paper he's beat me when I consider myself playing good with that Kyler Murray team. So he is a.
Are we getting any brother on brother crime? Some home and home matchups? Do we know if that's going to happen?
Clemson versus Bama match. I mean, I think that's a great roster lineup, but I just don't think. And we'll talk about what it takes for that to occur in a little bit, but. That's what I'm here for. And when we talk about here in a bit, the non-conference scheduling and all the things that we're going to allow you guys to do, let me see some stuff. Allen said he can't do them like that. Maybe after he goes Coastal Carolina. But this is going to be a very fun division. I consider myself a team that's not rebuilding, just reloading, right? Georgia Tech, they won their bowl game, and they've got 3 to 4 offensive stars in my mind. So I'm ready to hop in and compete. I don't know shit about any other team in this conference except for the conference championship was Florida State. They got screwed out of their scenario, and then Louisville that couldn't score a touchdown because I think they weren't that good. I don't know. It was crazy. So it'll be very interesting to see. King, who are you eyeing? Who are you most wanting to play in a division this year?
Georgia Tech.
Yeah. He didn't even pause, bro. Didn't even pause.
Georgia Tech. No. For real though.
Put the target on me.
Georgia Tech is one of them. Virginia Tech is another. I mean, welcome back to Lil the nice way, strong way. We've always had a little rivalry going on. Hell, he's the one that got me in top. So at the end of the day, it's gonna be nice to see and welcome him back, and hopefully he don't run away from ass whoopings this time.
Hey,
so,
he said he's ready to go, man. He said he saw y'all called it the State of the Union address. I thought that was hilarious. But he said, Finn, I seen your State of the Union. I'm ready to come back. And I said, I appreciate that. So he's ready. He's locked in. He's got that quarterback they got up there, Virginia Tech, that apparently is Cam Newton 2.0. So we will find out.
Don't sleep on NC State's defense. So I'm gonna tell you.
I was about to say, is it nice? And then I realized you're talking about yourself. All right, we'll find out about NC State. We'll see. I know y'all got the top receiver in the division, but I don't know about anything else. I haven't looked at it. But let's talk about real super teams. The SEC. We got the Georgia Bulldogs, the Tennessee Volunteers, the Florida Gators, the Ole Miss Rebels, the Alabama Crimson Tide, and the Louisiana State Tigers. That is the 6 user teams there. It's the SEC. You're not going to get a lot of sympathy when it comes to CPU talent, all right? You're going to have to deal with the Aggies, and you're going to have to deal with Mizzou. Figure it out. That's the SEC, baby. You guys signed up for the big boys. You're going to have to play big boy teams. That being said, I did leave the Auburn Tigers in there because, I mean, it's the Iron Bowl. It's not even going to be a league if we don't have the Iron Bowl, right? And then, of course, Vanderbilt. I feel like that's kind of a mainstay of the SEC. Kind of lower. We might see them get, and again, CPU teams might get subbed in and out over the years. We might see the return of Kentucky, and who knows who else could make an appearance. Maybe Mississippi State Bulldogs. Is that another SEC team that probably needs to hop back in at some point? But that's the group there. This is going to be chaos. Chaos. Allen, top Madden Super Bowl champion at Bama. Jordan, top Madden Super Bowl champion with Georgia. The top Madden GOAT, Warren, sitting there as the Ole Miss Rebels. Hoop God Beeman, Willie, top Madden Super Bowl champion, multiple cycles, Florida Gators. I mean, immediately, that's 4 champions in that event. I don't want nothing to do. And they're all 4-star, 4.5, 5-star rosters. Good luck in that death zone known as the SEC. Want everybody to know I did not shy away from it. I've already reached out to Jordan, and we are going to keep the Georgia Tech Week 12 rivalry alive. Okay, so every year I got to play fucking Georgia. So I don't want anybody to ever come at me talking about I schedule easy games because that's on the schedule right there. Louisiana State is a buddy of mine who's played Madden for a long time with me when we were in the Navy. This is his first time in a league. So we'll see how long LSU remains an SEC team. You guys have any thoughts on this conference, or is it just as simple as that? It's who survives the slugfest.
I think this is the most murderers row conference personally. I know you've been going back and forth ACC, SEC. I
This
don't have the vast knowledge of top Madden players like you
Mm.
have outside of previous cycles, man. But I look at this conference loaded with talent, loaded with Super Bowl champions. I mean, there's a very good chance that the conference playoffs can potentially run through this for the first year or two.
Mm-hmm. Fully expecting it. I'm not hyping any of these guys up. These are all guys that are ready to go. And there's something to be said about a lot of them kind of having their favorite, like Willie probably has the worst roster of the top guys, but he's, I think, one of the biggest Florida Gator fans in chat. Don't sleep on Joey, the Tennessee Volunteers, right? That's going to have a pretty solid defense coming out the gate. He's made playoffs and top before, so definitely a lot of talent there. And of course, we're leaving Mizzou, which is a top roster, and we're leaving the Aggies in there for season 1. So you're going to have 2 ranked. The Aggies are ranked, right? Or at least close to it. Either way, you're going to have to deal with Kyle Field, which is apparently the hardest place to play in the game, right? I think they were number 1.
After Appalachian State went in there and won, like after that, you can no longer, for the history of your college, can you be considered the number 1 toughest place to play? If Appalachian State went into your home stadium and beat you, that's. I'm a Longhorns fan, but I'm just saying.
Juice Pop Diddy said what conference you're in. I'll get you here in a second. We did go over it, but we'll run through it here. He said bottom of the AFC East. Allen is going in on him. So that's the SEC. I don't have an immediate. I think the immediate rivalry and immediate fight for the top spot, and that is going to be Alabama and Warren at Ole Miss. I think those are going to be some great games. Bordering states there. It's gonna be a good one. If Jordan can kind of, use that roster to his advantage, I think he can step into the gate. I'm excited to see the Florida Georgia rivalry game, the Iron Bowl. All of it. Gonna be extremely fun. And then, hopefully we get the crowd volume turned up as loud as we can for those broadcasted streams. So it's literally you guys have to yell over the crowd. That'll be sick.
That's the goal, is to have to scream over everyone as Warren scores a game-winning touchdown against Allen.
We'll get those sound volumes. Right. Since Notre Dame has showed up, Notre Dame, you are part of the Big 12, featuring the Liberty Flames, Air Force, Cincinnati, Oklahoma State, and the Longhorns, and then the 4 CPU teams, Oklahoma, Texas Tech, TCU, and Kansas. So, all right, last conference. We're not doing 4, we're doing 5. Okay, when I put Texas back in the Big 12 and I kind of separated teams back into the Big 10, I said, we got to have the Pac-12, right? We can't not have the Pac-12. So the only thing that is going to stop the Pac-12 from existing here is going to be a scenario where the Pac-12, like say you're the number 1 ranked player and you're number 1 in the nation, you win the Pac-12 championship, and it doesn't let you get a first-round bye because of some weird thing having to do with the game. We will make an adjustment there, but I have been told, again, by my sources, that is not a problem. That the reason why the Pac-12 isn't currently eligible for the first-round bye is because there's only 2 teams in the Pac-12. But if you add teams back to that conference, they're eligible. I'm going to trust that. We're going to lab that. If there's any changes to the conferences, of course, we will let everybody know. But come on, you'll see why it's important to get this information out now, early, for the league's sake here in a second. But the Pac-12, the USC Trojans, Kings Kid, the Colorado Buffaloes, Oregon Ducks, Washington Huskies, Boise State Broncos, the Cal Bears, and then the 4 CPU teams will be Oregon State, the Utah Utes, the Arizona Wildcats, and the UCLA Bruins. I felt like we had to have UCLA in there. I always love their jerseys. And they always have some fun talent. So this is an interesting division, right? The 2 powerhouse users are going to be Ahard, who's the Huskies. He's always kind of a playoff. I think he might even made a Super Bowl run before, but I think he's a regular playoff user. And then King Jordan is a user that's come in. He stepped in last year, had some success. Pretty solid user as the Rams last year, and he's going to take on a top team in the Oregon Ducks with was it Dylan Gabriel at quarterback, and then of course there's Digga, that's an important D. Pause. So he's going to be the Colorado Buffaloes, and they are obviously with Hunter and the Sanders brothers out the and actually I think their running back is one of the fastest in the game. So they've got a lot of speed. That's going to be 3 teams that immediately jump off. Then let's talk about guys like the Cal Bears, P-Town coming back to top. Boise State, Ricky. He's got a great running back, and he's always been a playoff user in top. I think he's even made a Super Bowl or 2. King's Kid, I think he's got an uphill battle. It's not a very good team, and historically he hasn't been able to find a lot of wins, but it'll be fun. That's a legacy thing. Recruiting, he's probably going to have a lot of fun bringing in recruits there. And then an easier schedule, I'll say, in terms of the CPU stuff. So if you're looking at this, Hoff, and you're like, man, that Big 12's kicking my ass, maybe you make your way west. I don't know. You could be like, like the missionaries, right? They always expanded west to colonize with Christianity, so you can kind of reenact that in college football, if you will.
Yeah, I think once Travis Hunter and the Sanders brothers leaves the Pac-12, the paperwork for the transfer might be in.
As soon as the talent goes out, then we'll
Oh,
move
man.
over. Oh my goodness. Ridiculous. I think it's a fun conference. I'm excited to have the Pac-12 back. Pac-12 users have to schedule their games after 10 Eastern time. It's a sim league, so you're not allowed to start a game before 10 Eastern time. So
Are me and Derek obligated to act like Bill Walton if we're broadcasting any Pac-12 after dark games?
I don't even know because I don't watch Pac-12 after dark. What is it, a snooze fest? I just like read recipes or something? Like, what's the deal?
No, Bill Walton's just he's a pothead who just goes on the most random tangents. Like you'll watch a game and he'll go off for Mikal Bridges is Michigan State, and he'll go talk about different bridges around the world for 5 minutes after he makes a play. He'll be, have you been to this bridge and this bridge? Yeah, he was greatness.
I would love it. Get into it. All right, get a little West Coast love. So I'm excited to see how this works out. That's going to be a unique division. Again, about 3 really, really good teams, but about 5 really, really good users. And of course, they're going to have like the litany of the West Coast recruiting covered up. So I'm excited to see. They talked a lot about South Florida is going to produce a lot of speedy wide receivers. East Texas, a lot of big wide receivers. The North, Midwest is going to produce obviously a lot of big linemen. How many Samoans are we going to see on the West Coast that are in the recruiting pipeline and making for big offensive and defensive linemen? And of course, the speed and talent that comes out of California. So that'll be exciting. And that's our 5 conferences. So I'll post these to the chat again. There's going to be an article that drops right after this for those that didn't watch the stream or missed it. We're not done quite yet, but that's the conference reveal. So we'll get those things posted. Now, we talked about this earlier, and we're going to re-bring it up as we get to the next subject, which is, well, how we got our conferences. First thing note, there's no East or West, and we're not doing that. We're not doing divisions inside the conference until we have to, right? And then second, how are we gonna, I was looking at all the screenshots and I realized that we can schedule a custom amount of conference games. So obviously, if that stuff rings true based on what I saw, this is the plan going forward, to allow us to have, again, allow you to experience a unique schedule, a rotating schedule, right? If you have 8 conference game and you have 10 conference mates or 9 conference mates, that means you play the same 8 guys every single year, right? I can get kind of annoying at times. And you kind of want to mix your schedule up, but it's not Madden. It's college football. You get used to playing most of your conference games. So let's talk a little bit about, I don't know if I gave you guys this screenshot, but the schedule settings, okay, and how we're going to schedule non-conference games. So here's the deal. Every conference is going to have 7 conference games. That is something that the game is going to create. Once I put you in conferences, it's going to customize your schedule and it locks those in. So I can't change. I can't change home and away. I can't change who you play. I can't change what week you play. Right? So going back to, like, let's say the Big 12 in an example, you guys have 4 CPU teams and 7 conference games. So I don't get to decide how many of your 7 conference games are against users versus CPU. Okay? And we'll talk about some scenarios here, and if anything pops in mind for you guys in chat or you guys here chatting with me, happy to address it. I feel like I've thought about every scenario. But back to this. So 7 conference game and 5 non-conference games that are completely schedulable by you. Though when it comes to scheduling and everything, you can have a max of 4 CPU opponents per season. So if you are in a scenario where you like the Big 12, and of your 7 conference games, 4 of them are CPU teams, right? Say you got all the CPU teams on your schedule. Okay, well, when you go to schedule your 5 non-conference games, they have to all be users. See how that works? Like, that's your max. Now, let's say you only got 1 CPU team on your roster or on your schedule. Well, now you have 5 games to schedule. You can keep it that 1 and go schedule 5 users, or you can schedule up to 3 more CPU games if you want to. Say you want to go take on a ranked Michigan team and get a big win. Say you feel like you got a good matchup against them. Go do it. If you want to go play the FCS Pandas and beat them 80 to fucking 0, go right the fuck ahead, right? Or if you want to go schedule against another user in the league, then that's fair game, right? Whatever you want to do for the time being, as long as there's a max of 4 CPU opponents per season, okay? But Finn, I tried to schedule, and I can't get, because here's the deal, and I'll talk about like what is required to schedule a game with somebody. Say you can't get somebody to agree to play you, or they're busy that week, and all the other opponents are fucking Bama, Georgia, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're like, man, I only really want to play 7 guys this year. Everybody else is a better roster than me, or they're not good matchups for me, so I don't want to play them, or I can't get them to agree to play me. Finn, what do I do? Well, if you come back to me with that and you say, Finn, these are my 4 conference games, or my 4 CPU games, sorry. I'm trying to schedule against this user, but the only people available are like Allen, Warren, or whoever. I don't want to play an SEC team. I'm the little Syracuse Orange. I don't have time to play Bama right now. That's fair. The rule is you can then schedule another CPU game should you wish, but that CPU team has to be ranked. Unless one of your 4 CPU games in your conference is against a ranked person, right? So let's go Derek, for example. Derek comes back and he goes, I've got 4, let's see, the Big Ten. Y'all have Indiana, Hawkeyes, and the Wolverines. So say Derek comes in, he gets his 7 games, and of those 7, 3 of them are the Wolverines, Hawkeyes, and Hoosiers, right? So and then Derek goes ahead and schedules 1 more CPU game, and then he try against whomever, and then he tries to get 3 users, but he can't schedule them. They can't. Say there's some weird scenario coming up, and Derek just can't find a good opponent, right? That's okay. Derek comes back to me and he goes, hey man, I'm trying to find an opponent, but I can't. I need another CPU game this year. I go, no problem. Go ahead and schedule another game. But because Michigan is already ranked, I'm going to let him schedule an easier CPU game. I'm not going to force him to schedule 2 ranked opponents, right? Does that make sense? Am I losing something on that?
No, I think you're good.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I feel like that's as balanced as you want, right? Obviously, I can't perfect it and make it so where it's users every single time. I think we all agree that CPU games are going to have to play a small role. I feel like 4 is not that bad. And that's the max, right? Obviously, if you only end up with 1 or 2 in your division, in your conference games, then you're welcome to go schedule as many user games as you want to. And that's that. So let's talk about like what that takes and what I'm going to ask for you guys to do that. So first of all, what's going to happen is when the game drops and we make the league, you guys are going to go ahead and see your schedule, right? Once we make the conferences and align it, you'll get your schedule. Again, you can't move the games that are locked, right? Or the games that are locked, your conference games. Those are locked in stone. You can't even change the home away as far as I've seen. But you're able to schedule against your opponents. So I would say, first of all, you need to reach out and think about who you want to play. And that's something that can happen now, and those conversations can happen now, right? Say, I'm Georgia Tech. I know I'm going to play Georgia, and I know I want to play Georgia the last game of the season. Cool, got it. I'm already locked. I've already reached out to Jordan. He's agreed to play. We agreed to play it at the normal time, the last game of the season. Easy, okay? Say for my next game, me and Derek want to play. Well, what we need to do is we need to find a week where me and him both don't have a conference game. Because say week 3, I don't have a conference game, but for Derek, week 3, he does have a conference game. Well, he can't change that. See how that works? So I had to figure out a week with Derek. And you might go, wow, that's 5 weeks. Is it always going to line up? Well, from what I've seen, you can change your bye weeks as well. So you're going to have the 5 weeks that you already have conference games scheduled. You're going to have the 2 bye weeks that your team has to move around games. And also remember that there's week 0. So you're essentially going to have 8 weeks to move around to figure out how to play. I feel like that's going to be enough flexibility to figure out a week to play somebody, right? And we'll figure it out as it goes. But that is going to be the way that process works. And so right now, I would say what I need from you guys is just start reaching out. There's a channel in the NCAA part of Discord. You'll see it right here. It'll say NCAA. It'll be NCAA announcements, user teams, non-conference scheduling. It's empty. I see Hoff typing in there now, right? Go ahead and put out a flyer. Apply to Play Liberty in the DMs, looking for, non-ranked teams or whatever, or hey, and then as we get a little bit clearer, once you've maybe you've scheduled 3 of your games and you're like, okay, well, my weeks are, I now have availability at 3, 4, 8, and 9. So I'll put in chat, can play anybody 3, 4, 8, and 9, maybe say prefer not ranked or prefer ranked teams if you want to challenge yourselves, right? That would be the way to do it. I had to take it off before Juice posted some porn on there and got me in trouble. But that is the way that would go. So go ahead and start getting an idea, right? Just get an idea of who you want to play. Obviously 5. You don't have to schedule 5. Also know what kind of CPU teams you want to play. Have that in mind. Have those, if you have a rivalry, if you want to play somebody already and like King, fucking Juice, you want to play King at USC, King's Kid, sorry. USC Notre Dame, that's a classic rivalry. You guys want to keep that cool. Lock that in with him, cool. When the time comes, when the game drops and it's time to submit, I will have this, where's this form? So I had this form, and it'll look like this. The first page will say, what is your team? You'll come in and you'll say, I'm Georgia Tech, and you'll hit next. All right, and you'll see it'll go game by game. So, you'll choose the week that you guys have agreed to play. So in this case, week 2, I'll say, is my opponent CPU or user? You'll say user opponent. If it's a CPU team, put CPU. My opponent, I'm going to put Notre Dame. Say I agreed to play Notre Dame in week 2. Now, here's the key thing, home team. And I'll touch base on this again when we come back. The home team, if you guys decide and agree on who the home team is, then I'll respect it. If you don't, I'll coin toss it. And then if you play this, if you're like, hey, Finn, we're doing a yearly rivalry. We're going to play each other every season, right? Well, we'll keep a track of that. So whoever was the home team this year will be away next year. So we'll keep that. So for this, I'll say, hey, coin toss, we couldn't agree or we didn't care, so you decide for us. Then hit next. And you do that for all of your games, right? Just go through, even the CPU games. Why does this matter? Well, from what I've heard and what I saw in the deep dive, you guys don't actually get to change your schedule. The commissions have to do that. So yes, I'm going to have to go through and adjust every person's schedule. It's going to be chaotic. The plus side is once I change the game for Liberty, it's going to change for Nebraska if that's the matchup, right? It'll automatically do that. I don't have to do that for every single team. But I'll go through, I'll adjust everybody's stuff. I just need to know what weeks you have your games and what weeks you're playing your opponent or your CPUs and your users. The bye weeks will just get set automatically. I'll probably reach out to you and say, hey, it's asking if you want a bye week 0 or week 7. Which one do you want it, right? Maybe I'll just go ahead and add that to the form. What are your bye week? What would you prefer your bye weeks to be? And then I'll do that. That all spits out to a form for me, and then me and the CM team will go in. We'll make that a custom schedule, and that'll be what we're doing from a timeline perspective. Because the first week the game drops, we're going to test. Second week the game comes out, everybody's going to be joining the league. We'll make the conferences. That is going to be that crucial time where you're submitting your schedule, we're running through, and we're making adjustments and learning. So be patient with me, but also be more proactive, as proactive as you can, to get your general opponents. That's all I want to see in that chat, is just get a general idea of who you want to play. And that way, when the game drops, you're not doing that. You're working with the guys you already have games set up for to make that. If you do not submit your games to that form, I'm scheduling you all CPU games against ranked opponents. So that's when you open up your schedule and you're like, fuck, I got Michigan and Texas A&M and Mizzou as 3 of my non-conference games. And you're like, Finn, what the fuck was that? And I'm like, you didn't submit your shit. I did all this shit for y'all. The least you could do is just submit the damn form that takes 5 minutes to do. So I'm not trying to be a dick, but that is going to be the way that goes. Y'all have any thoughts on that? I know that was a lot of talking.
I like it. I think it makes sense. I didn't realize that it was you, one man, having to go through and change.
Everyone.
You basically have to change 150 games every season. That sounds fun.
I'm willing to do it. I want y'all to be an active part of it. Just figure out your rivalries. Who do you want to play every single year? And if you don't have rivalries, go challenge yourselves, right? I'm going to be playing Georgia. I'm going to be scheduling games against Allen. If you don't think I'm going to beat Willie's ass, that's happening for sure. I get the, and kind of building into it, I'm not going to force you. If the only person that you can play that week is Alabama, I will work with you. But just know that means that one of your non-conference games might need to be a CPU game. So you're going to have the luxury of doing that, right? If you end up getting an all user, get the ability to schedule 4 non-conference games against CPUs, go beat up on the little guys. St. Mary's School of the Blind. I don't care. That's your path. That's your choose. All of that stuff is going to matter and affect recruiting. All that stuff is going to matter strength of schedule when it comes down to the college football playoffs. That's all risk and rewards that you guys have to take. So there will be no force wins against the CPU. I don't even know what was going to constitute a force win against the CPU, right? Because there's so many scenarios. Another thing, too, is if you're going on a trip in real life, you could schedule your bye weeks around that trip. So then you don't really have to worry about it all that much. Give yourself that extra time. So that was a cool thing me and Danny were talking about, that with enough foresight. Obviously, if your trip's in a week and we've already done the schedule, that's one thing. But yeah, that's that. Anything from the chat? Any thoughts? Obviously, if you have any concerns or questions on that, you can always pop them into my DMs or Gen Chat, and I will answer them, or a scenario that you're imagining. This is the plan. This is what we like to go forward with. I don't think we can tell the story of a college football season if we try to limit it to 32 teams. Now, with this, would I then allow, say we can allow all-user playoff into college football? That's another discussion to have, right? Okay, Michigan just won the conference. Should they be allowed, if I'm able to set an all-user college football playoffs, are we cool with that? Or do we want to see a scenario? Would the content be good to see the league all cheering on a user against the one CPU team in the playoffs? I think that's it's a very unique scenario. And if it's lame, season 1, if everybody's like, Finn, these CPU games are ass, they're not worth our time, it's not telling the story we thought it would, okay, we'll come back season 2. Maybe we go to users only and conferences, right? And that way you're guaranteed to play users only. So we will learn. I promise y'all that I will be what's the term? Malleable, understanding of the unique scenarios, and the more feedback we get, the better. But what I don't want is feedback from people that didn't engage in it. Be a part of it. Really feel like, is this the league that I want to be in? Not like, oh, I just played my games and I lost my CPU games and I didn't like it, so I'm mad at Finn about it. No. Was it tough? Was it boring? This game looks like it's really fun against the CPU. And the disparity, right? It's not like anybody's just going to be able to beat any team. So I don't have any more things to cover here. Do you guys have any final thoughts?
No,
I'm looking forward to getting started.
Sick. Juice, the schedules are going to change because I'm moving you to a different conference, so I don't know if we're still going to be playing each other. So I don't look at the current schedule, because that's going to all change when I move everybody's conferences around, right? But I won't hold these guys hostage anymore. Fellas, thanks for joining. If you didn't catch this, we talked all about these guys and the content they're going to do early in the beginning of the video, so go watch it back whenever it gets uploaded to YouTube. And if you didn't watch this or didn't want to watch this, it's going to be all uploaded in a written format right after this. So thanks, fellas, for joining me today. We will see you guys around for more Top Sports Network.